Captain Elias Drake sat in the observation deck of the human starship Aurora, staring out at the endless stretch of stars. He had seen many wonders across the galaxy, binary suns, glittering asteroid belts, and planets with skies of green and purple. But today, he felt a different kind of tension. The message he had received from the Zerithian Empire was, unlike any diplomatic communication he had ever encountered. The Zerithians were known across the stars for their strict hierarchy and unmatched technology. Humans had only recently made contact with them, and the Empire had always been distant and inscrutable. Elias was chosen to represent humanity in a series of negotiations meant to establish a permanent alliance. He had prepared for complex discussions, trade agreements, and cultural exchanges. But nothing could have prepared him for what awaited. As the Aurora descended through the Zerithian atmosphere, Elias felt a weight in his chest. The capital city sprawled across a valley of crystalline towers that shimmered in the sunlight. Ships moved silently between the towers, leaving trails of faint light. The scale of the city was overwhelming, and the air hummed with energy. He was met by a group of Zerithian aides, tall and graceful, with smooth blue skin and eyes that reflected the light like polished gems. Their expressions were unreadable, as was customary for their kind. Elias followed them through winding corridors of glass and metal until he reached a vast chamber at the heart of the Imperial Palace. The room was circular, with walls covered in shifting holographic images of galaxies and worlds. At the far end of the chamber sat the Empress herself. She was taller than most Zerithians, regal and radiated authority. Her robes glimmered with metallic threads that caught the light in mesmerizing patterns. Her eyes, large and golden, fixed on Elias with an intensity that made him straighten his posture. "Captain Drake," she said, her voice smooth and commanding, "you have traveled far to reach me. I have observed your actions in recent negotiations, and I find your species interesting." Elias bowed slightly. "Your Majesty, I am honored to be here. Humanity hopes to strengthen ties with the Zerithian Empire and build a lasting peace between our peoples." The Empress's lips curved into a faint smile, but it did not reach her eyes. "Peace is important, yes, but sometimes alliances require more than words and treaties." She paused, letting her words hang in the air. "I have decided that you, a human, shall marry my daughter, Princess Lyra." Elias froze. His mind raced. Marry a Zerithian princess? This was beyond anything he had imagined when he accepted this mission. Diplomacy had rules, but this was a decree of unimaginable weight. "Your Majesty, I am honored, but I must understand." "The decree is absolute," the Empress interrupted, her tone leaving no room for argument. "This union will symbolize the bond between our species. You will leave your world behind and take my daughter as your wife. Refusal is not an option." Elias's thoughts swirled. He knew the Zerithians' reputation for precision and inflexibility. Refusing such an order could spark conflict or worse, put humanity at a disadvantage. And yet, he could not ignore the gravity of what he was being asked to do. Before he could respond, the doors at the side of the chamber opened, and a figure entered. Princess Lyra moved with an elegance that seemed to float rather than walk. Her long silver hair caught the light, and her eyes, a striking violet, studied Elias with curiosity. She was clearly young, but her presence was commanding, even to someone as experienced as Elias. "Father," she said softly yet firmly, "do you truly intend for this human to be my husband?" The Empress nodded. "It is decided. You will travel with him to the ceremonial world and prepare for the union, learn from him, understand him, and perhaps find the value in his species that I see." Lyra turned to Elias, her expression unreadable. "I hope you are prepared for what this means," she said, her voice calm but tinged with warning. "You're not just taking me as your bride. You're stepping into the center of an empire, with its politics, its rivals, and its expectations. One wrong move could destroy everything." Elias took a deep breath. Despite the fear and confusion, he knew one thing. Humans were survivors, and he would face whatever challenges came his way with courage. "I will do my best to honor this duty," he said, "and I hope we can learn from each other along the way." Lyra's eyes softened for the briefest moment, as if she had expected defiance or fear, and found instead determination. "Then perhaps there is hope," she murmured. Over the next few hours, Elias was briefed on the journey ahead. The ceremonial world was a remote planet, sacred to the Zerithians, where alliances were formalized in elaborate rituals that had endured for millennia. He would be accompanied by Lyra and a contingent of Zerithian guards, as well as translators and advisors. The journey would test not only their physical endurance but also their ability to navigate alien social norms. That evening, as the sun dipped behind the crystalline towers, Elias walked through the palace gardens. The air was filled with the scent of exotic flowers, and streams of liquid light flowed like water, defying gravity. He tried to collect his thoughts, knowing the coming days would demand his full attention. Lyra appeared silently at his side. "Do you understand what you are stepping into?" she asked. Elias nodded. "I understand it will not be easy. But I also know humans have a way of surprising others. Perhaps in time I can show you that humanity is more than what the Zerithians expect." Lyra looked at him closely, her violet eyes searching. "I hope you can. I truly do. For the sake of both our peoples, I hope you can." The next morning, the group departed the capital aboard a sleek Zerithian vessel. As they left the orbit of the planet, Elias gazed at the shrinking city below. The stakes were higher than anything he had faced before. This was not just a mission of diplomacy. It was a journey that could shape the future of humans and Zerithians alike. Days passed as the ship traveled through the starlit corridors of space. Elias and Lyra spent time learning about each other. Lyra shared stories of her planet, her people, and the responsibilities she bore as a princess. Elias spoke of Earth, humanity's struggles and triumphs, and the qualities that made humans unique: courage, adaptability, and an unyielding spirit. Lyra listened, sometimes skeptical, sometimes intrigued. She had grown up among Zerithians who valued perfection, control, and obedience. Humans were unpredictable, loud, and often reckless. Yet there was something about their resilience that fascinated her. One evening, as the ship glided past a nearby nebula, Elias demonstrated a simple human invention, a small holographic game that required strategy and creativity. Lyra laughed, a sound so rare and clear it echoed in the quiet chamber. "I did not expect humans to have such cleverness," she admitted. Elias smiled. "We surprise even ourselves sometimes. But adaptability is our strength. Perhaps it can be yours as well if you are willing to learn." The two of them continued to talk late into the night, sharing fears, hopes, and dreams. Despite the circumstances, a fragile bond began to form, a mutual respect that neither of them could ignore. As the ceremonial world grew closer on the view screen, Elias realized that the coming days would test everything: courage, loyalty, and intelligence. He would need to prove not just to the Zerithians but also to Lyra that humans were more than capable partners in this galactic alliance, and perhaps in the process he would discover that humanity could shine in ways no alien technology ever could. The journey had begun, and the galaxy waited. The Zerithian vessel glided through space, cutting a path between stars as if slicing through silk. Captain Elias Drake stood near the navigation console, studying the holographic map that displayed their route to the ceremonial world. It was a remote planet, considered sacred to the Zerithians, lying on the outer edge of their empire. Its surface was largely unexplored by humans, and rumors spoke of extreme weather patterns, gravity anomalies, and strange energy fields that could disrupt even the most advanced ships. Princess Lyra joined him, her long silver hair flowing like a river in zero gravity. "You are unusually quiet, human," she said, her violet eyes observing him carefully. "Do you not fear the journey ahead?" Elias shook his head. "Fear is natural," he said, "but I have faced unknown worlds before. We learn by observing, thinking, and adapting. Humans are resourceful." Lyra raised an eyebrow. "Resourceful, yes, but will that be enough when the environment itself fights you? When the ground beneath your feet seems to vanish and the storms threaten to tear you apart?" Elias smiled faintly. "Then we make our own solutions. We survive." The first challenge came sooner than expected. As they approached a dense nebula near the ceremonial world, the ship's sensors began to flicker. Streams of energy in the nebula interfered with navigation systems, and the ship shuddered as gravitational distortions tugged at it from multiple directions. "Adjusting trajectory," Elias commanded. His hands moved swiftly over the controls. "We need to maintain stability. Lyra, I need you to monitor the external sensors and report any sudden anomalies." Lyra leaned over the console, her eyes scanning the streams of data. There's a spike in electromagnetic interference ahead. If we don't act now, we risk being thrown off course. Elias considered their options. The path around the nebula would take days longer, leaving them vulnerable to detection by rogue factions within the Empire. The shorter path was dangerous, but it was manageable with precise adjustments. "We go through it," he said. "Trust me, Princess." Lyra hesitated, then nodded. "I will follow your lead, Captain. But do not make mistakes." Elias activated the ship's stabilizers using a combination of human intuition and technical skill. The vessel shuddered violently as it entered the nebula. Lightning-like energy streaks danced across the hull, and the gravitational distortions caused temporary weightlessness in some sections. Elias maneuvered carefully, relying on patterns he had observed in previous space storms. Minutes felt like hours, but gradually the ship emerged on the other side. The nebula stretched behind them, glowing with colors no human eye had seen before. Lyra let out a quiet breath. "You did it," she said, her voice a mixture of relief and admiration. "Your species truly is remarkable," Elias chuckled. "We adapt even when the odds are against us. That is how we survive." Their relief was short-lived. Sensors detected a small fleet of rogue Zerithian ships approaching at high speed. They were heavily armed and clearly intended to intercept the human-led mission. "Rogues," Lyra said sharply. "They must see this union as a threat. Prepare for combat." Elias's mind raced. Direct confrontation would be risky. The rogue fleet was faster and more heavily armed. But humans had a reputation for thinking differently under pressure. He quickly calculated a strategy. "We don't fight conventionally," he said. "We use unpredictability. Lyra, follow my instructions exactly." The human and Zerithian crew worked together to execute Elias's plan. Using the nebula's energy distortions as cover, they twisted the ship through paths the sensors of the rogue ships could not anticipate. The human-designed maneuvers were chaotic but effective. The enemy ships fired, but most shots missed, deflected by the energy streams around them. Elias and Lyra coordinated their movements flawlessly, each learning from the other. Lyra began to understand the human talent for rapid adaptation and improvisation, while Elias marveled at the Zerithian skill for precision and timing. Together they created a synergy neither species could achieve alone. Finally, with a daring final maneuver, the rogue fleet was forced to retreat. Elias exhaled deeply. "That should keep them off our trail, at least for now," he said. Lyra looked at him with genuine admiration. "You are not like the humans I expected. You are courageous and clever. Perhaps I misjudged your species." Elias smiled, though the tension in his chest remained. "Humans are more than you think, Princess, and we have a way of turning impossible situations into survival." The next challenge came as the vessel approached the ceremonial world. Its surface was a patchwork of jagged mountains, glowing plains, and vast rivers of liquid light. Atmospheric readings showed volatile winds, unpredictable gravitational fields, and energy surges that could disrupt electronics. Landing would not be simple. The Zerithian landing crew hesitated. "The terrain is unstable," one said. "Even a minor error could destroy the ship." Elias studied the readings. "We need to land in a stable zone," he said. "There. See the plateau just beyond the crystal cliffs. It is small but safe. We descend slowly and use thrusters to stabilize against the gravity anomalies." The ship descended carefully, guided by Elias's commands and Lyra's input. They encountered turbulence and strange energy waves that threatened to throw them off course. Elias adapted constantly, adjusting thrusters, redistributing power, and predicting environmental shifts. Lyra monitored the readings, her fingers dancing over her own console to relay critical data. At last, the vessel touched down safely on the plateau. Dust and glowing particles rose into the air as the ship's stabilizers locked. The group exhaled collectively. Even the Zerithian crew, who were used to harsh environments, looked impressed. Elias stepped onto the surface, feeling the alien ground beneath his boots. The planet was alive with strange colors and sounds, a living landscape unlike any human world. Lyra followed, her expression a mixture of awe and caution. "This world tests every visitor," she said softly. "Even the most skilled Zerithian must prove their worth here." Elias nodded. "Then we shall prove ours. Humans are resilient. We learn, we adapt, and we survive. That is who we are." As they began their trek toward the ceremonial site, the challenges continued. Gravity shifted unpredictably, forcing them to adjust their steps. Strange crystalline plants released bursts of energy when touched, and the winds carried sharp, metallic particles. Elias led the way, using human ingenuity to find paths through hazards and improvising tools from their limited supplies. Lyra and the guards followed, gradually learning to trust his instincts. At night, the group camped under the alien sky, with twin moons casting soft light across the plateau. Elias and Lyra shared stories of their respective worlds. He spoke of Earth's oceans, forests, and cities filled with diversity and chaos. She told him of Zerithia's towering cities, precise technologies, and disciplined culture. Despite the differences, a connection grew between them, built on respect, trust, and shared adversity. "Your species is extraordinary," Lyra admitted quietly. "I see why my mother chose you. You do not fear the unknown. You face it and you find a way forward." Elias smiled. "We have no choice. Survival demands it, and perhaps in facing the unknown together we can learn from each other." As the night deepened, Elias gazed at the stars above. The ceremonial world was only the beginning. The journey would test them in ways neither human nor Zerithian had ever imagined. But for the first time he felt a sense of purpose beyond duty or survival. He was part of something larger, a partnership that could shape the future of two species. And somewhere deep in the alien sky, beyond the twinkling stars, the galaxy waited for the human spirit to shine. The ceremonial world stretched before them like a living painting. Its mountains shimmered with crystalline veins, rivers glowed with liquid light, and the sky pulsed with strange colors that shifted with the planet's energy. For Captain Elias Drake, every step was a lesson in observation and adaptation. He had faced dangerous environments before, but this was unlike anything on Earth, or even in human colonies across the stars. Princess Lyra led the way, her silver hair glinting in the glow of the twin moons. "We must reach the Hall of Unity before the Council convenes," she said. "The ceremonies are not merely traditions, they are tests. They will judge your worth, Captain, not by your strength alone, but by your understanding, your judgment, and your ability to honor our customs." Elias nodded. "I understand, Princess. I will do my best." Lyra's violet eyes studied him closely. "Humans claim to be adaptable. Let us see if that is true." Their group navigated narrow cliffs and energy fields that shifted unpredictably. The Zerithian guards moved with practiced precision, yet even they relied on Elias's quick thinking to avoid hidden traps and unstable terrain. At one point, a crystal formation began to resonate, emitting harmonic pulses that could destabilize the footing of anyone nearby. Elias quickly improvised. Using a small device from the ship, he generated a counter-frequency, calming the resonance and allowing the group to pass safely. Lyra watched him silently, a mixture of surprise and admiration in her expression. "Your ingenuity is impressive," she admitted softly. Finally, they reached the Hall of Unity, a massive structure carved from a single crystal mountain. Its interior glittered like a galaxy captured in stone, with walls that reflected light in infinite patterns. At the center of the hall stood the Zerithian Council, an assembly of elder advisors, diplomats, and nobles, their expressions serene but unyielding. Elias bowed respectfully. "I am Captain Elias Drake of humanity. I come in service of peace and mutual respect." The council observed him silently, their large golden eyes unblinking. One elder, her skin a deep indigo, stepped forward. "You claim to represent your species, yet you arrive untested. Here, all who seek alliance must prove their worth, not through force but through wisdom, courage, and integrity." Elias nodded, accepting the challenge. "I am ready." The first test was simple in description but complex in execution. Each participant was required to solve a problem that combined logic, ethics, and diplomacy. For humans, the unfamiliar customs made every decision delicate. A wrong answer, or even a gesture misinterpreted, could offend the council and end the mission. Lyra observed silently, occasionally whispering translations or hints. "Remember," she said, "your logic is sound, but understanding our values is key." Elias worked carefully, combining human reasoning with the insights Lyra provided. He proposed solutions that balanced fairness, compassion, and strategic thinking. The council members murmured among themselves, some nodding subtly. When the test concluded, the eldest advisor smiled faintly. "You have insight and restraint. Few outsiders demonstrate such comprehension of our ways. You are acceptable." Lyra's lips curved into the faintest smile. "Perhaps your species has more depth than I imagined," she said. The next challenge was physical, though not violent. The participants had to traverse a complex terrain using agility, balance, and coordination. Gravity shifted unpredictably, and luminous plants released pulses of energy when disturbed. Humans had no natural experience with such conditions, but Elias relied on observation, experimentation, and adaptability. He discovered a rhythm in the pulses, predicting when they would emit bursts of energy. He taught Lyra's guards to move in harmony with the environment, turning the challenge into a team exercise rather than a solo feat. By the end, the council watched, impressed at how the human captain led a group with strategy rather than brute strength. Lyra's admiration grew, though she masked it behind her usual cool demeanor. "You are clever," she whispered to him. "Not just in survival, but in leadership, that is, rare among my people as well." The final test was the most delicate, diplomatic negotiation. Elias and Lyra were paired with representatives from rival Zerithian clans. Their task was to resolve a simulated territorial dispute using only dialogue, cultural understanding, and strategic compromise. Humans were accustomed to negotiation, but Zerithian diplomacy was far more formal, full of intricate protocols and subtle expectations. Elias listened carefully, observing not just the words but the gestures, the cadence, and the hidden meanings. He noticed patterns others overlooked, small details that revealed each side's true priorities. Using empathy and reasoning, he guided the conversation toward solutions that satisfied all parties. By the end, both clans agreed amicably, and even skeptical council members nodded in approval. Lyra looked at him with something approaching awe. "I did not expect a human to navigate this so smoothly. You understand not only logic, but perspective. You see beyond what is spoken." Elias shrugged modestly. "Perspective is a human strength. We adapt not only to survive, but to understand others. That is how we endure in a universe full of unknowns." As the tests concluded, the council conferred among themselves. The atmosphere was tense, filled with the silent weight of centuries-old traditions. Finally, the eldest advisor addressed Elias. "Captain Drake, you have proven yourself. Your actions show courage, ingenuity, and understanding. You are worthy of the alliance and, by extension, of the union with Princess Lyra." A murmur of approval spread through the hall. Lyra's expression softened, a genuine smile replacing her usual reserve. "It seems we may have underestimated humanity," she said quietly. Despite the success, Elias knew challenges remained. The ceremonial world itself was unpredictable. The planet tested not only strength and intelligence, but also character and judgment. Each step forward would demand more than mere skill. It would require trust, collaboration, and courage. Later, as they rested in a quiet chamber overlooking glowing valleys, Lyra spoke. "Tell me, Elias, do you ever fear the unknown?" Elias considered the question. "Of course. Fear is natural. But humans have a saying, we do not let fear stop us. We face it, learn from it, and move forward. The unknown is not always an enemy, it can be an opportunity." Lyra's violet eyes studied him, a faint smile on her lips. "Perhaps that is why your species is intriguing. You see possibility where others see danger." Over the next few days, Elias and Lyra explored the ceremonial world together, learning its rhythms and hazards. They encountered rivers that glowed with energy, forests of crystalline trees that hummed when touched, and winds that shifted in patterns that seemed almost alive. Elias used human ingenuity to navigate these dangers, constructing simple tools and devising strategies that combined logic with intuition. Lyra observed constantly, often joining him in the exploration. She had been raised in a culture that valued perfection and obedience, yet she found herself impressed by human creativity and unpredictability. It was not just skill she admired, it was the courage to act, to take risks, and to trust instincts in a world that defied certainty. One evening, as twin moons rose over the crystalline mountains, Elias and Lyra sat side by side on a ledge overlooking a river of liquid light. The glow reflected in their eyes as they spoke quietly. "You have done more than survive here," Lyra said. "You have thrived. I expected a visitor, a diplomat, a guest, but not someone who could understand this world so quickly and lead others through it." Elias looked at her, a mixture of humility and resolve in his expression. "I did not do it alone. You taught me more than I can say." Humanity survives by learning from others, adapting, and cooperating. I hope that is enough to earn your trust as well." Lyra's hand brushed briefly against his. "It may be more than enough," she said softly. "Perhaps. There is more to this union than duty. Perhaps it can be a partnership in truth, not just obligation." As the night deepened, they sat in silence, gazing at the living landscape around them. The ceremonial world had already tested their courage, intelligence, and cooperation. And though the journey was far from over, a fragile bond was forming, built on respect, shared danger, and mutual admiration. Elias knew the next challenges would be even greater. The rogue faction still lurked in the shadows. The ceremonial trials were far from complete, and the complex politics of the Zerithian Empire would not forgive mistakes. But he also knew one truth. Humans had the ability to rise in adversity, to shine where others faltered, and to turn impossible odds into opportunity. For the first time on this alien world, Elias felt not fear, but purpose. And with Princess Lyra by his side, he was ready to face whatever came next. The ceremonial world, despite its beauty, was not a place of peace. Captain Elias Drake and Princess Lyra had barely begun to adjust to the alien landscape when the first signs of trouble appeared. Small energy readings indicated unauthorized ships approaching the planet, and scouts reported movements in the outer valleys. "Rogue faction," Lyra said sharply, her violet eyes narrowing. "They have come to disrupt the alliance. They fear the union between human and Zerithian." Elias studied the data. "We can't wait for them to attack. We need to prepare a defense, and we need a plan that uses their assumptions against them. They expect the Zerithians to rely on technology and power. They won't expect human unpredictability." Lyra considered his words carefully. "You mean strategy rather than brute force. Very well, Captain. Show me what humans can do." They moved quickly, coordinating with the Zerithian guards stationed around the plateau. Elias observed the terrain, noting natural choke points, crystal formations that could block movement, and unstable energy fields that might disrupt enemy sensors. Using this information, he devised a series of traps and diversions that took advantage of both the environment and the rogues' expectations. The first attack came at dawn. A small fleet of rogue ships descended, firing energy beams that lit the crystalline cliffs with dazzling flashes. Elias barked commands, guiding the Zerithian defenders to positions that maximized cover and minimized exposure. Lyra moved beside him, relaying orders to the guard squads. Elias had prepared an unexpected maneuver. Using the uneven gravitational zones of the plateau, he directed the defenders to create false signals. The rogue ships, unfamiliar with these shifting fields, miscalculated their approach. Some crashed into unstable cliffs, while others were forced into traps that Elias had set with the guards. The battle was intense. Blinding energy blasts, rock collapses, and swirling light made it difficult to distinguish friend from foe. Yet humans and Zerithians worked together with surprising efficiency. Elias's unpredictable tactics and quick adjustments allowed them to anticipate enemy moves and stay one step ahead. Lyra, though trained as a princess and diplomat rather than a warrior, proved her courage. She moved among the guards, offering guidance and moral support, even stepping into danger to rescue a fallen soldier. Elias noticed her bravery and adaptability, realizing she was more than a figurehead. She was a capable leader in her own right. Hours passed, and the rogue faction adjusted their strategy. They began to attack in smaller, more coordinated waves, attempting to exploit weaknesses. Elias anticipated this and prepared a countermeasure. He directed the defenders to create decoy positions and use the environment as camouflage, then launched a coordinated counterattack that forced the rogues into a narrow canyon. There, the terrain itself became an ally. Gravity anomalies slowed the enemy's movement, while unstable crystal formations collapsed in precise patterns Elias had predicted, blocking escape routes. The rogue forces, unprepared for such unconventional tactics, were overwhelmed. Amid the chaos, Lyra stayed close to Elias. "Your methods are remarkable," she admitted, her voice steady despite the danger. "I have never seen anyone combine strategy, environment, and human intuition like this." Elias allowed himself a brief smile. "Humans survive because we think differently. We adapt, improvise, and act where others hesitate." By nightfall, the rogue faction had been defeated. Their remaining ships retreated into the outer orbit, and the plateau fell silent except for the glow of the ceremonial world's rivers and the soft hum of its energy fields. The Zerithian guards celebrated, praising Elias for his leadership and ingenuity. Lyra stood beside him, a mixture of pride and relief in her eyes. "Today you have not only protected me," she said quietly, "but also shown that humans can be trusted allies of the Empire. My mother will be pleased." Elias nodded. "We face danger together. That is how trust is earned, through action, not words." The following days were spent reinforcing defenses and preparing for the formal ceremonies. Elias and Lyra explored the plateau further, discovering hidden pathways, natural shelters, and energy nodes that could be used to strengthen their position if another threat arose. Elias's human ingenuity once again proved invaluable, as he created simple devices that amplified the natural energies of the planet to provide protective barriers and early warning systems. Lyra observed and learned, often trying to replicate his methods. Though she struggled with the unpredictability of human thinking, she began to appreciate the creativity and resourcefulness it brought. "Your species sees the universe not as fixed rules," she said one evening, "but as a set of possibilities. That is extraordinary." Elias smiled. "We survive by seeing what others cannot. We turn limitations into advantages. Perhaps you will see it too." Their growing partnership did not go unnoticed. The council, observing from afar, began to recognize that Elias's presence was not merely tolerated, it was valuable. The combination of human unpredictability and Zerithian precision was proving to be a powerful force. Even Princess Lyra, once cautious and reserved, began to see Elias as more than a visitor or diplomat. He was a true partner, capable of guiding and protecting her in their future alliance. One evening, while examining the plateau's glowing rivers, Elias and Lyra discussed what had happened during the battle. "The rogues underestimated humans," Elias said. "They assumed we would follow their logic or avoid risk. But we act where others hesitate." "That is our strength," Lyra nodded. "And yet you also combine strategy with compassion. You protect your allies, not just yourself. That is what sets humans apart." Elias glanced at her, a serious expression on his face. "I do not fight for glory. I fight for survival, for trust, and for the chance to prove that humanity can be a force for good. And perhaps, for a chance to earn your trust as well." Lyra's violet eyes softened. "You have earned more than trust, Elias. You have earned respect. And maybe something more." The night passed with a calm that felt almost unreal after the battle, yet both knew that the greatest tests were still to come. The ceremonial world itself, with its complex rituals and unpredictable trials, awaited them. And while they had proven their courage in battle, the political and ceremonial challenges would demand different skills, wisdom, diplomacy, and careful judgment. Still, Elias felt a growing confidence. Humans were capable of rising to any challenge, no matter how alien or dangerous. And with Lyra by his side, he knew they could face anything together. As dawn broke, casting a soft glow over the crystalline mountains, Elias stood beside Lyra, looking out at the vast plateau. "We have survived today," he said. "Tomorrow we prepare for what comes next, and together we will face it." Lyra smiled, a rare and genuine smile that revealed a hint of warmth and trust. "Together, then," she agreed. The rebellion had tested them, showing the strength, courage, and ingenuity of humans in the face of overwhelming odds. It had also begun to solidify the bond between human and Zerithian, a partnership that promised to grow stronger with each trial. In the quiet moments after the battle, Elias reflected on everything they had faced. The galaxy was vast and filled with dangers and wonders alike, yet humans had a unique ability to survive, to adapt, and to shine even in the darkest moments. And with Princess Lyra as an ally, he felt that they could accomplish something remarkable. An alliance that could change the course of history and prove that humanity had a place among the stars. The ceremonial world was only the beginning. The real challenges, both political and personal, lay ahead. But for the first time, Elias felt a sense of certainty. No matter what came next, he would face it with courage, ingenuity, and the unshakable determination that made humans exceptional. And somewhere deep in the alien skies, the galaxy waited for them. Two unlikely partners, human and Zerithian, ready to forge a new future together. The plateau of the ceremonial world was bathed in the soft glow of twin moons. Crystalline towers shimmered with hues of gold and violet, reflecting the energy that flowed through the planet itself. Today was the day of the union, the ceremony that would seal the alliance between humanity and the Zerithian Empire. Captain Elias Drake stood at the center of the ceremonial hall, feeling the weight of history and expectation pressing upon him. The Zerithian Council, dignitaries, and even emissaries from distant worlds had gathered to witness the event. The air was filled with a quiet tension, broken only by the soft hum of the living crystal walls. Princess Lyra entered, her silver hair flowing like liquid light, her violet eyes fixed on Elias. She wore ceremonial robes that shimmered with the colors of her planet, intricate patterns tracing the story of her people's lineage. Yet beneath the ceremonial grandeur, there was something else: determination, courage, and a quiet strength that mirrored Elias's own. The eldest advisor of the council spoke first. Today is not merely a marriage. It is a symbol, a bond between our species. Through this union, humanity and Zerithia shall learn from each other, face challenges together, and build a future of cooperation and trust. Elias bowed respectfully. "I accept this responsibility," he said, "and I promise to honor both Princess Lyra and the alliance between our peoples." Lyra stepped forward, her expression calm but resolute. "I, Princess Lyra, accept this union, not as a duty imposed upon me, but as a choice. I have seen courage, ingenuity, and understanding in Captain Drake that surpasses expectations. I choose to stand with him and with humanity." A murmur ran through the hall. The council had expected formal words, recited out of duty, but Lyra's words carried conviction, revealing the trust she had developed through shared trials. Elias's heart swelled, not with pride, but with the weight of responsibility and the hope of something extraordinary. The ceremony began with a series of ancient rituals, each designed to test understanding, respect, and unity. First, they walked through the River of Light, a flowing energy stream that resonated with the bond between individuals. Step by step, they moved in harmony, their movements guided by instinct, trust, and careful observation of one another. Elias focused on Lyra, watching her reactions, adjusting his own movements to match hers. The river pulsed beneath their feet, testing their balance and coordination. Lyra's hand brushed his, and they held each other lightly, not as strangers, but as partners navigating a world that was both beautiful and dangerous. Next came the trial of wisdom. Each participant was presented with a complex scenario that required negotiation, empathy, and decision-making. Elias recalled the lessons from their earlier tests, the council's emphasis on observation, perspective, and collaboration. With Lyra's insights and his own human reasoning, he proposed solutions that honored both Zerithian tradition and the unique perspective humans brought to the galaxy. The council watched intently, nodding at each clever adjustment Elias suggested. Lyra whispered softly, "You are turning your experience into guidance for everyone." "That is leadership," Elias smiled. "Humans survive by learning from every challenge. I hope it is enough." Finally, the trial of courage awaited them. This test was symbolic but no less meaningful. They had to step into the heart of the crystal, a chamber pulsating with energy, glowing with colors that shifted unpredictably. Fear, uncertainty, and doubt were said to manifest physically in the chamber, challenging the participants to confront their inner strengths. Elias took Lyra's hand, feeling her confidence and determination. "Together," he said quietly. "Together," she echoed. Inside the chamber, the energy shifted violently at first, walls of light threatening to overwhelm them. Shadows whispered doubts. Voices of uncertainty filled the space, and the environment seemed alive, testing their bond. Elias held Lyra close, grounding them both with steady breathing and unwavering focus. Step by step, they moved through the chamber, trusting each other and themselves. The shadows faltered before their unity, and the energy calmed as they reached the center. A soft golden glow enveloped them, signaling the completion of the trial. The council erupted in approval. "Captain Elias Drake and Princess Lyra," the eldest advisor declared, "you have proven worth, courage, wisdom, and unity. Your bond is true, and your partnership shall guide the future of our peoples." As the ceremony concluded, Elias and Lyra stood together, hand in hand, facing the gathered dignitaries. The alliance between humanity and Zerithia was no longer a decree. It was real, forged in trials, battle, and mutual understanding. Later, in a quiet moment away from the ceremony, Lyra turned to Elias. "I underestimated humans," she admitted. "I thought you were clever, perhaps brave, but I did not see the full depth. The creativity, the adaptability, the courage to face unknown dangers with reason and heart." Elias smiled. "Humans have always survived because we don't give up. We adapt, we learn, and we fight for what matters. And sometimes, we find allies in unexpected places." Lyra's violet eyes met his. "Perhaps our peoples have much to learn from one another. And perhaps we have much to teach each other as well." Over the following days, the humans and Xerithians began to work closely together. Joint patrols, research missions, and cultural exchanges demonstrated the strengths of both species. Where Xerithians had precision, humans brought creativity. Where humans had intuition, Xerithians offered structure. Together, they solved problems that neither could have handled alone. Environmental hazards, energy anomalies, and political tensions with distant factions. Elias and Lyra often explored the ceremonial world together. They discovered hidden valleys glowing with energy, learned the behavior of luminous rivers, and mapped unstable crystal fields. Each new discovery strengthened their bond, and each challenge tested their collaboration. What had begun as an imposed union had grown into a true partnership. One evening, as the twin moons rose over the crystalline mountains, Elias and Lyra sat on a cliff overlooking the plateau. The planet's energy rivers shimmered below them, and a gentle wind carried the soft hum of the living crystals. "We have done more than survive," Lyra said softly. "We have proven that two species so different can work together and thrive. And perhaps that is the true purpose of this union." Elias nodded. "Humanity has always sought to explore, to learn, and to build connections. We face the unknown not just for ourselves but for the future. And with allies like you, Princess, that future is brighter than I ever imagined." Lyra smiled, her eyes reflecting the glowing rivers below. "Then let us continue together. For both our peoples, for the galaxy, and for what comes next." The galaxy awaited, filled with uncharted worlds, unknown dangers, and opportunities that only humans and Xerithians could face together. Elias and Lyra, united by courage, respect, and trust, were ready to lead their peoples into a new era. One where humans were recognized not only for their adaptability and ingenuity, but also for their bravery and spirit. And so, on the ceremonial world under twin moons and crystalline skies, a human and a Xerithian princess stood side by side. Their union was more than ceremony. It was the beginning of a new dawn, a promise that humanity could shine among the stars, not as guests, but as partners capable of shaping the galaxy with courage, wisdom, and heart. The journey had begun, and the universe waited, not with fear but with anticipation, for the story of human ingenuity, resilience, and unity to unfold across the stars.